Yeah, okay, let's start.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. A famous academic administrator at Oxford University named John Owen once said, "Data is what we need to do analytics, and information is what we need to do business." On that note, a very good afternoon to one and all present over here. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce a personality who is a perfect blend of analytics and a business, none other than Miss Richa Agarwal. She's She is an analytics leader with 11 years of industry experience. She has worked across multiple domains, which includes BFSI, CPG, and supply chain. Ms. Richa is a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt professional. She has been certified for leadership skills and change management by ISB Hyderabad. She holds a BTech in apparel production from NIFT and has qualified MBA in finance and marketing from Institute of Management Technology, Nagpur. She is currently associated with Tredence, which is a leading big data analytics services and solution company as Senior Manager, Analytics and Delivery Leadership. Prior to Tredence, she was associated with Merckx, which is one of the largest shipping company in the world, where she was working on multiple cases to incorporate data-driven decision making. Ms. Richa is also responsible for leading the machine learning and advanced analytics aspect in various solutions proposed under the digital transformation strategy. She has also done extensive work on time series forecasting. She has volunteered as a guest speaker at various forums to emphasize the importance of continuous learning, and upskilling was interviewed by Hindustan Times on how upskilling can help women return to workforce easier. On behalf of Placement Cell of MSc Applied Statistics and Analytics, Sunandan Divatia School of Science, NMIMS, I, Yash Dugar, extend warm welcome to our versatile speaker for the day, Ms. Richa Agarwal. I also welcome Ms. Sunil Shivekar Sir, Program Director, Department of Statistics, STSOS, NMIMS, our faculty members, and my fellow batchmates for today's guest lecture, Career in Analytics. Now, I request Ms. Richa ma'am to take over and begin with the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. We cannot see it yet.
Okay, let me share it again. Okay, now you can see?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you for the welcome, and this is one of the slides where I put up the same information which was shared about what I have done. So you would see multiple things here. One is as it was also in my introduction that there's a continuous learning. I focus on a lot on upskilling and continuous learning. So you'll see those these circles that shows my learning path. Then on which year I changed my role, and the top shows my educational background, and this is what I have worked so far. So yeah, I would not repeat that, but solutions I have almost developed almost 25 to 30 solutions delivered to various organizations. I have worked in product sector and service sector both. So Maersk and Swift have been a product company, and Fractal and Trident is a service industry. So I have catered to all the. So when we say product, it's largely about serving the internal stakeholders, internal client, and when we say service, we are offering it to the external customers. Okay, so in Tridents, I just joined Tridents last month. I am leading the industrial practice there, specifically one of the biggest account in the industrial practice, and I lead the overall delivery piece in the practice. Now, why we want to study analytics? It's primarily because the world is changing very fast, and now everywhere if you talk about digital transformation, consulting, analytics, you will find data science is at the heart of it. Okay, and please, I want it to be interactive, so just stop me if you want to ask any question. Just feel free to ask. Okay. Um, Now there are certain buzzwords. I think I have stopped here. Yeah. So there are certain buzzwords that you would hear. That data has volume, variety, velocity, veracity, value, and variability. Uh, what these things are. So volume we all know, right? The amount of data. Then variety is the form of data, whether it is in structured form and semi-structured form. Velocity is at the speed it gets generated. So now you do a credit card transaction. There's so many customers doing transaction across the globe. So see, at every second that data is getting generated. Then it comes veracity. So veracity is how compliant your data is, how much trust you have in your data, right? So that is veracity. Then value. What is the business value that, so if someone is creating or saving the credit card transaction data, it has a business value. It needs to check. It's a lot of things that they do. They understand whether there's any fraud happening. They understand that what is the customer pattern behavior, what kind of spends are they doing more. So it has its own business value. Then variability. Okay, so variability is nothing, in a credit card transaction, you'll see in some days the transaction are high, some days it's low. So it tells you the variability. So these are few buzzwords that you listen when we talk about data. Then recently, now 2021, what are the buzzwords? So X analytics is what you would hear a lot, given by Gartner. X analytics is nothing but text analytics and image analytics. So now they have given a word as X analytics. So typically you will hear a lot of these things: decision intelligence, data accuracy, mobile analytics, data workforce, diversification, predictive analytics, NLP, self-service BI, digital automation. All these are buzzwords, but all this entail to an analytics industry. Now these are few facts. Why so much of focus? Because globally, it is going to be at a size of almost $98 billion by 2025, growing at a 6.4% CAGR. And in India itself, it is 3 billion. It was $3 billion in 2019. And the average workforce that you see, it's 8 years, right? So that means it's very young. So you have a lot of chance to get into that workforce pretty easily. And 40% of those workforce is less than 5 years. Okay, so you see how young crowd you would find in most of the analytics industry wherever you would work in future. Okay, I have also collated some statistics around what are the analytics adoption in India and various across the cities. What are the various size of the companies? So you would just quickly have a look. So you will mostly find Bangalore and Delhi NCR, followed by Mumbai. These are the three highly, where you see a high adoption of analytics, and a lot of companies where you'll find analytics consulting or any such areas related to analytics. Then I've also collected something where which talk about what are the size of the company. So you would find largely this pie is around 30%. So it is shared by mid-size, startup, and large size. So all of it all is, so basically we are saying that all of them are kind of doing analytics. Okay. Now why we do analytics and why digital transformation, right? So these are few things that is why people are moving toward having digital transformation, um, and eliminating manual tasks. So what do you do in this? You would automate most of your things. Analytics would enable cost saving. Now if you would automate certain things, you would end up free up certain resources, right? So it would entail cost saving. And then you have to change a lot of your company culture, because earlier if it was about knowledge, and based on your knowledge you're taking decision. Now it is based on the information and facts, and that is what is driving a decision. So it's a lot of change in company culture. Then efficiency, obviously, where when we are looking at data, we also look at how productive we are going to be. So today, if we are 80% productive, can we make ourselves 90% productive? So how we drive efficiency is also something that we rely analytics and digital transformation. And end of the day, customer is at the heart. So how do we increase the experience of a customer, right? So you must have find in Facebook and in LinkedIn, or all these are platforms, but why you are glued to it? Because they give you a certain experience. Okay, now if a Facebook is able to capture your images, various images from your face, it is also a kind of analytics that it is doing, right? Then the biggest portion is to cover all of it. You have industry have to introduce a lot of new technologies. So you will find, not just now today you have studied something else, but after 2 years, 3 years, you'll find another technology coming. So it's a continuous learning path as well, because in industry you'll find newer and newer technologies coming up. Okay, so any questions so far on this? Okay. So now I wanted to also give you some understanding of how in organization analytics is adopted, and how it starts and get into working. So typically in an organization, if we talk about a product company like where I was in Maersk, or maybe Procter and Gamble, or the company that you think of, huge companies, there it starts with ideation. Okay, ideation typically around what are the business changes that we want to drive for digital transformation, right? So or what kind of improvements we would want to bring, what are the areas, what are the business divisions where we want to bring those kind of improvement. Once you have it ready, you create a list of digital playbooks. Okay, we call it digital playbooks in a digital transformation setup. And once you have all the full list of digital playbooks, you get into prioritization, because see, it it involves a lot of cost, right? It gives benefit, but it's like sometimes it is high risk, high reward. So you have to invest a lot of money to get a lot of value, right? But in certain cases, there are certain use cases, certain playbooks where it is like a small change, a minute change, and then you can still reap the benefit of that change. Okay, so based on that, prioritization is done. How do we prioritize and create those phases of these playbooks? And it is done on ease of implementation versus value, or if there's something else that business want to really look at. But largely you would see they would check how easy it is to implement and what is the value generated. Now, ease of implementation itself has multiple areas. It could be the cost involved, it could be the skill set involved, capability involved. So ease of implementation itself covers a lot of these things before we jump into prioritizing, right? The moment we prioritize, we get into clustering. Okay, now this clustering is grouping playbooks together. So let's say one playbook, you have a bunch of playbooks coming for asset digitization, one playbook coming from marketing, one playbook coming from a sales analytics, cross sell, upsell. Now under that there were multiple use cases that would come up. Now how would you club these together, right? So there could be possibility that under your marketing there could be 10 use cases. You would say, okay, I would do 1 now and 9 later, because one is a quick win and low hanging fruit, let me go and do that. Or so I have just I have showed all colors together, but it is just to give you an understanding that they belong to the same playbook. But it can also be that if two playbooks can run together, they can group them as well. Okay, and then give and then end say that this both club together would give a better result. So this is how a roadmap is created. So when you get into this workforce, you will hear a lot of this word that can you create a roadmap of how it is going to look like, can we create a roadmap of how are we going to implement this solution, can we create a digital playbook of digital roadmap of adoption of analytics. So this is how you create. You start with very basic, then you get into deep, and then you get into this is what we need to target. This I believe you must have studied already. You must be knowing that this is what the maturity model. So sometimes industry club this with your playbook. So what they do, especially you will find this happening in industry which is now entering into digital transformation at very early on in that stage. Uh, uh, Before that, do you understand what is digital transformation? Anybody who wants to talk about digital transformation, what is your understanding on digital transformation?
It'll be better if you be able to give us a little snippet about it, like what exactly does it mean?
Okay, so now digital transformation covers it's a broad concept. It's a strategy that organizations are deriving. Now, what it covers is that everything related to even migrating an Excel report to a BI platform is also a part of digital transformation strategy. Okay, then now how when you move it to a BI platform, how would you move it? Either you have a data extract, then you move it to BI platform, where a BI platform where you upload it onto that system and then it takes and give you the output, or you would have a central repository of the data and then it is a direct fetch to that BI dashboard. Okay, now it I have explained it in 2 lines, but it has a lot of back end work that you need to do. One is, do you have a data lake ready? Do you have a whole data center ready? Do you have that cloud infrastructure set up to have continuous feed going on to the cloud? Okay, that means do you have that infrastructure to store that data, right? Now, once you have the infrastructure, do you have the right resource to create that pipeline that connect data source to the BI platform? Okay, these are individual tasks that you need to accomplish, which is also part of a playbook, and within that playbook, these are the tasks. Okay, that we have to create a central repository. Now once we create a central repository, even central repository have so many things, because you need to connect data of marketing and then operations, and then what another model you have to have a Snowflake model. So even thinking of that is also a huge investment, huge operations, and huge tasks that you need to perform to even migrate all your data into the cloud. Once you do it, then you are moving to BI. So sometimes people move that the whole of their digital transformation, they put it into this matrix where you have, okay, what happened. So once you have this data ready, you would say my descriptive work would go into BI platform. So now what happened, I would report it through a BI, maybe a Tableau or Power BI. Okay, now you have moved out of Excel. Now once you do that, you move toward why did it happen. So now you need some intelligence on top of it. So you would hire someone and get more hands on creating the whys, understanding the whys. Now whys could be a Six Sigma kind of work where it's all root cause analysis that is happening. They're understanding what was the source of the issue and what are the cause. So that kind of thing, and then you go into diagnostic. So you don't need that machine learning. But the moment you move into predictive phase, you put certain playbooks there. Now you have BI, you know why it happened. Now what is going to happen? So certain playbooks, if we are talking about the same, so we'll place certain playbooks there, which would help us predict, okay, that what is going to happen, which customer is likely to buy your product, okay. Then we move to prescriptive and we'll say how to make it happen. Now, which customer will buy the product, but how they will buy the product. So in Amazon, you'll find all the recommendation coming in, right? So that is how they are making you buy their product. Okay. Next is cognitive. Now, cognitive is something which is very it's not very clear, because sometimes it mixes with prescriptive, sometimes it becomes too advanced where you have a computer vision also coming in, which would say what to do, why and how. So it is like NLG, where you are speaking and it's also giving you answer like a robot. Okay, so cognitive is that advanced stage. So you will also see that it's that much difficult uh, to implement that, and but yes, it has the highest value as well. Okay, so digital transformation is everything which involves data. Okay, everything, be it data engineering, be it data science, everything is a part of digital transformation. If you are moving your Excel report, you're automating your Excel report using VBA macro, it's again a very early stage of digital transformation. Okay, now coming to the skills and job profiles. So in analytics industry, you would find a lot of job profiles, but they are part of either analytics consulting. So you have consulting companies like WNS, Fractal, you have Bridge I2I, then you have Latent View. I have joined Tredence. You have ENY, Big Fours are again consulting companies. Then you would have Accenture, also one of those. Then you have all the IT companies, consulting arms they have there. So you'll find a lot of analytics consulting, where you'll find profiles like consultants, you have profile like analytics manager, then you have a profile which is like uh, engagement manager. So and then data scientist. Now in analytics consulting, you would also see some people who are working on data engineering, some people are working on data science. Okay, so in consulting you will find all kind of jobs. When it comes to product industry, like you have PNG, and you have all FMCG sector, you have all industry sector, retail, then you would find most of the profile which are around data engineering and data science. So people like senior data engineers, then you also have something called product managers coming in picture, where because in that case you don't need project, but you need product managers more. Then you have profile like data scientist, senior data scientist, principal data scientist. Okay, but what do they need in a person? So you need to have three things. One is domain knowledge, second is soft skills, and data science. So I have put domain knowledge as the biggest, because that is something which is not prevalent in abundance. Okay, if you're targeting a consulting industry, you may not find a lot of domain experts there, although now they have started hiring, but you may not find a lot. Why I say that? Because either you will find a domain expert, but then that person would not know anything about data science, or you would find someone who knows very good about data science, but they know nothing about domain. Now industry right now is having that gap. You don't have people who have some understanding of the domain and they also know data science, and then they can connect the dot and they can solve the problem. So if you can bring that kind of skill set if you can solve that, understand certain domains and then solve that problems, you are kind of filling that gap, and it's easy to get into the analytics industry and swim through it and make a career out of it. But that doesn't mean that that is the only path. You have profiles which are data science profile, and industry you would always have people who would help you with the domain, but then you need to be really really strong in your structured approach and problem solving and machine learning. Third thing is you need to be very good at communication. And I would say that it is absolutely necessary if you're trying to join a consulting setup, because in consulting you are talking to client, and if you don't have the clarity of expression, if you do not communicate that well in terms of what you're trying to say, then it is very difficult for people to understand. And even in a product setup, if you are in a company like Maersk, where you have to present something to people who don't have absolutely no knowledge of data science, but still you need to go and talk to them and make them explain, you need to have that soft skills. Okay, any question on this?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, I had one question.
Yes.
So, like you mentioned about being really good at the domain knowledge. At this point, we don't even aren't sure about what domain we want to get into, let alone being knowledgeable about a domain. So, my
Mhm.
question is, how do we actually firstly understand which domain would be the best for us, and second, how to gain the required knowledge in that domain?
Good question. So typically, in your where people are freshers, we cannot do much about that. They have to learn along the go. But what I have find, what happens that when a fresher joins the industry, they don't give a lot of emphasis on understanding the domain. So today, it's okay you don't have a domain, right? But you have to build a career. Now, even if you are a data scientist, for example, you get a data scientist role into, let's say, an FMCG sector. Okay, so your client is FMCG client, but you are so engrossed in creating models, excuse me, then, and not thinking of the domain because you already have a help on the domain, then okay, you would still be able to perform. But if you want to grow and solve really complex problem, you have to start expanding your domain knowledge. Okay, so if you're in FMCG, try to gain, don't just look at maths, don't just look at stats, also understand why I'm solving this problem, what are the important KPIs for this domain. Okay, does it answer?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I wanted to know what is this KPI knowledge that you were talking about, which you have written in the domain knowledge.
Okay, so KPIs are key performance indicator. Okay, so every industry has its own KPI. Okay, for example, if you look at e-commerce, okay, so in e-commerce, they look at, and you must have seen Amazon. There are certain reviews, right? So number of reviews is one of the KPI. Okay, then if you click on a particular page, then click rate is a KPI. Then how much time you were on that particular page is also a KPI. Then click to cart, okay, that is also one of the KPI, that whether this product ended up going into your cart. Okay, so that is also a KPI. So every domain has its own relevant KPI.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, now this, do you know this data science project life cycle? I'm sure you guys must have created certain models. It is absolutely same what happens in industry as well. It's just the change is right now the data to you is provided in a format which is solvable, but in industry you need to know business understanding. You need to have a lot of discussion with the business to understand the problem, decipher the problem, that what that real problem is, and then you get the data. Okay, you have to acquire the data from various sources, create those pipeline, do some data wrangling around so that it can be used for model. Then you do modeling. So after doing the modeling, you again bring it in a format which is usable, and then it is deployed. Now deployment could be a web service, it could be some application, it could be some Excel based report. So anything could happen which is accepted to the customer. Okay, so in this whole case, when you are deploying and giving it to customer, one thing becomes very important is storytelling. How are you telling your story? Okay, so this you still must be knowing, right? Okay. Now I was asked to talk about Six Sigma as well. So and this is one of the last slides. So why Six Sigma? So now Six Sigma it started with the operations industry where you have production going on, and then how do we improve the or reduce the waste. That was the starting and inception of Six Sigma. But I have that's my view on this. It is heavily reliant on data analytics. Now, if you understand that Six Sigma is nothing but six standard deviations, okay, which is statistics, pure statistics of the upper and lower limit of the mean. So, standard deviation is a part of your analytics. It is a very important variability parameter, right? So, it's so analytics is the core of Six Sigma. And if you marry these things together, analytics with Six Sigma, you can solve a lot of problem. So in Six Sigma, there is an approach called DMAP, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, control. Now define is basically understanding the problem. How I understand the problem well. Measure it. How am I going to measure the the KPIs that I was talking about? How do we measure a leakage? How I measure the productivity? How I measure where I need to improve? Then we go to analyze. What is happening with that KPIs that we have listed? Now, the moment you come to improve is one section where you can have modeling, right? So you can just either you make a process change or you make model and you improvise the process, maybe a model around automation, which is RPA or UiPath, or it could be a data science based model and improvise, and then control is to have a check on that. Okay, now identifying the problem and root and the root cause of it using Six Sigma, and then suggesting the solution. So that's what I believe. If you do that with Six Sigma methodology, you'll still be able to improve a lot of problem for the industry. Now, specific to Six Sigma, you'll find a lot of profiles. You'll find profiles around project management, program management, operation excellence, delivery excellence. So even in industry, if we are getting to finance transformation, so you'll find finance excellence, process transformation, digital transformation, quality management. But if you see all of the profile on this side, these are all analytics profile. This will lead to you to an analytics work. Now in industry, there are two type of things that are happening. One is the process change. Now for all the digital transformation initiative, you need to change the process. For example, now you are getting you are a marketing head, and you want to understand the performance of your campaign. Now, typically what it happens, you have certain people who are running the campaign, they will send you an Excel report, right? And you will see, okay, what is the performance. But now as a digital transformation initiative, we no longer send that Excel report to you. You can now you have a web portal, and you can directly see how the campaign is performing live. Okay, so that's a change that we have brought. Now, to bring that change, earlier the process was, I used to contact, I used to raise a ticket that I want to get that report to understand the campaign. So I have to select certain campaigns and things like that, and then that report would come to me after 5 days. Okay, now the process has changed. Now I have to get my login credential for the portal. I have to sign up for certain campaigns that keeps on running, and I am able to view it live. So these are two processes that we have brought in. So for this, we have to go through a change management cycle. Right? We have to continuously see what is the process change. We have to bring that change as well, because now I, as a marketing head, I have to move to a different process. But if you see, we have still got analytics there, because now we have a web interface. It's a part of user interface. We have moved our campaign to live. Now we have a model running which will also give us the campaign effectiveness onto the interface. Right? So now I have completely everything on one interface with me in one platform. Right? So your Six Sigma helped in that process transformation. So all of these digital transformation initiative want you to have that process change mindset as well. And that is why they hire people who are Six Sigma. So they generally do program management. They ask Six Sigma people to do a lot of program management, so that they are the one who would do the root cause analysis, and then give it to IT team. They would create a solution for them, and they would talk to stakeholders. Six Sigma guy would then deliver the solution to the stakeholders. So they are like a program managers and project managers within the company. Similarly, they are also part of, in certain company, if they are doing operational excellence, so they are targeting only operation related processes, that what processes I have to improve. So then they would do the same thing, they would do the analysis, and then they would do their recommendation that these are the processes that we need to change, and then it goes to wherever, whoever implement that. Okay, any question on this?
Yes, ma'am. Like you mentioned modeling.
Mhm.
In the Six Sigma process, you define and you measure and then you analyze and you give a model.
Hmm.
So how is this modeling different from how we model visual data? Like we have not done Six Sigma, we've done modeling and stuff. So how is that modeling different?
It's not different, it's not, it's same.
The same process.
It's the same thing, yes. So I am a Six Sigma black belt, and largely most of the problem gets solved by logistic regression. You would do the same thing here. So the modeling that we do, the statistical analysis that we do, is same as what you have done in your course. It just that it gives you so few more standards to understand. Like in Define, you have something called SciPOC. Okay, so in SciPOC you understand, so it is just a way to understand the whole process map, how a process is flown. So SciPOC is supplier, who is the supplier of it, what is the process, who is the owner. So it's they have just given you certain standard, but when it comes to analysis, it is same with some additional. So you have some few parameters which are on the control side. So when it comes to control, you have few more control parameters, control standards and frameworks, but where you are getting into analyze and improve, it is same. You do the same model.
Okay, so matlab at the its core, it's the same thing. Only we have to keep in mind about the standards which you just mentioned.
Yes. So if you do Six Sigma, I would say I would really recommend doing Six Sigma, because it gives you the whole process. It broadens your aspect, right? So it gives you how a process is improved. So now tomorrow you are not just sitting in one side and just creating models. You can also be part of that change management that happens to get that model implemented, right? Because anything that you do with analytics need a lot of change management. Now when you know these frameworks, you can be part of the team who's doing these control checks, right? Who's doing all the measurement KPI. So you can be part of that. So you would be able to appreciate that process change that happens when you deploy a model.
Right. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I'll open for question and answer. This is a quick things that I want to show. I want to share. For preparing for analytics career, you just don't rely on coursework. You need to really practice, and you can just start by learning one language and become good at it. You just need to. It's not that you need to know R, Python, SAS, everything. Even if you know Python, that is okay, but you need to be really good at that. Participate in contests. So there are a lot of hackathons, Kaggle. Do that. Participate in that. Contribute to these communities. So you have a lot of communities around Slack and where you just post a question. You have Quora. So you have so many things around that. Also, you have GitHub. So contribute to these communities. Attend event. Learn from your peers, and obviously you get your internship anyways, and find a mentor. So this is below you. Whatever you will find, these are mostly when I talk to people who are experienced. Then I would suggest that you stick to your domain and those things. But largely for you, it is that you have to practice a lot, get a mentor, try internship, and include or try doing a lot of contribution towards GitHub and do these contests that happens. Okay, so this is it for me. I'm opening it for quick Q&A. You can ask any question that you want.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this enlightening experience. So I would like to ask my batchmates, colleagues, everyone, if anyone has any question to ask. You all can raise your hands.
Please feel free to ask. You are going to an industry where it is expected out of you to talk. You cannot be silent.
Guy, Kedar, your hand was raised. Kedar, actually, you're not audible right now. Your voice is breaking. Meanwhile, Gayatri, you can ask.
So, ma'am, you've told a lot about the cycle, the framework that is supposed to be followed for an analytics project. So, the ideation, the clustering, and everything. So, as someone who has worked in this field, what algorithms would you suggest that any starter statistician should have in their sort of toolkit? The important algorithms, which is like basic, like just now you mentioned logistic regression, like that. How what all algorithms would you suggest for us?
Okay, so Gayatri, for you, you're coming from statistics background, right? So
Yes.
now from you, the expectation would be really high, right? Because you people would not look up to you for a linear regression or logistic regression, right? Because that's very basic. But from a statistician, they even want you to know boosting technique pretty well. They would want to know reinforcement learning, right? So you have to raise that bar, because you have taken that kind of education, right? So although you may find in industry that is the reality, that most of the people are still around, logistic, random forest, because they are easy to explain to the client, right? Uh, but still, they would not hire someone who only know this, yeah, because of obvious reason. As I said, this industry changes so quickly. When your client change and start accepting a neural network, you never know. And it's not that there are no client who do not want to get into neural network or advanced machine learning. There are still projects which have that LSTM and CNN kind of work. So deep learning is something that you should know.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, Kedar, go on.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you,
Uh, thank,
Kedar?
thank you for your lecture, first of all. Earlier, you were talking about a lot of young people being a part of this industry.
Hmm.
So, the question I'm about to ask may not exactly have an accurate or precise answer at the moment.
Hmm.
However, I do want to know, like every other industry, there are some reasons why a person can grow in a field. Is
Hmm.
there like any particular trait or I mean communication etc. is all great. I mean we have all heard about it. But any particular reasons why you believe a data analyst will have the highest chances to grow in the industry?
Okay, that's a good question actually. So, a data analyst, so there are two parts to it, okay? If you are a data analyst in a consulting industry, yeah, in a consulting setup, so let's say you are in ENY, okay, you are in ENY, how would you grow? So for ENY, the business is to bring more business, right, and being more relevant to the client. Now as a data analyst, you need to be more proactive in providing a solution to a problem, right? So a data analyst would generally work on creation of or execution of a project. Okay, they would either create a BI dashboard or they would create a model. Now if you create a model which is not acceptable to the business, and you're not able to understand the data for it, and you need a lot of time in just understanding a simple thing, then you know you're not there. But if you are doing your research, and you need to do a lot of reading for it, because as I said, domain knowledge is very important, but being fresher, we don't have it, right? So we have to expand it. The moment you keep on expanding, you would grow, and you will find people who absolutely know business. They are the people who are sitting on the top, not the ones who can create neural network but don't know business, right? People who know neural network but know business very well, they are the ones who grow.
Right. I understand. So eventually, you will be catering to the people who will be making you money, not the technically skilled person. End of the day,
Obviously, end of the day, decision is not made by someone who is technical,
right? Right.
right? Decision
Thank
is
you.
made by
Yeah.
who's doing business.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Okay, next, anyone else would like to ask a question? Yes, Priyamvada.
Um, Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So my question is that these words like data analyst and these profiles like data analyst and business analyst and data scientist is what we've been hearing. But then, um, if you can touch upon the roles which are not talked so much about, like market research analyst,
Mm-hmm.
and what is their job, and like how much different it is with all these other jobs which are very much in the like talked about. But then I feel like, so I was reading this article where it was written by a market research analyst, but I don't really understand why that is not as much as sort of, if we say, in the field as the other field, as the other positions or the roles.
Okay. See, you need to be more specific about the role. I'm so sorry, but I can talk about market research. So, market research is a different thing than your analyst role. Okay, in market research, there are number of things that come. One is you're only doing research. So you have people who collect data through surveys, right? And then they understand that. Those are market researchers. So they take surveys, then they collate that, they understand, okay, what are the people saying about something, okay, and then they publish some article or they talk about. So you'll find a lot of McKinsey article, you'll find a lot of market research people in McKinsey. Then there are firms who do market research. They are meant for market research. So they are people who would only work on ANOVA, right? Because that is for your collecting those kind of data, right? So understanding your news, then collecting raw data. So it's not a structured data. It is a very unstructured data that market research people work on. Okay, but if you look at data analyst, you'll largely see that they would work on a structured data, very well defined, in the database, stored well, and they have to create it or do a lot of data wrangling to prepare it in a way that it can be used as a model, but it is still going to be structured data.
Okay, got it. So basically, that is market research analyst is something completely different from this,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
being a data
yeah.
analyst or business analyst.
Yes, market research analyst, there are people who also do not know anything about data, but they do market research, right? So
Right.
sometimes they are only there to create industry mappings, to create what a particular industry is doing, what are initiatives they are taking. They are again doing some research.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so next is Yash.
Thank you. So, ma'am, my question is, since you've been associated with the logistic and supply industry, I wanted to know how big data and analytics has transformed supply chain management.
What do you mean by how it is transformed?
Matlab, how do we use data analytics in supply chain management, basically?
Okay. So there are so many things that in supply chain, I think we have the maximum use cases around supply chain. So there you have optimization around transport. Supply chain has so many pieces, right? You have a piece around make, you have piece around plan. So you have demand forecasting, right? Have you heard of demand forecasting?
Not really.
So demand forecasting is how much. So for example, how much should I produce? Which will sell. So factories typically do a demand forecasting. What is the demand of my product going to be? Warehouse do how much stock I need to store. It is again based on demand. So demand forecasting is a huge use case around supply chain. Then how do I optimize my transport? So if I have to send something from manufacturing industry to my warehouse or to my DCs, then distribution center, what should be the optimal route I need to take? If I have to send my goods to my customer, can I club that in one truck so that my transport cost is minimum, right? Then lot of it about replenishment, how frequently I need to replenish my goods, right? So replenish is how quickly I need to again stock, and what type of goods I need to stock at what interval. Then inventory is one area. What is the inventory situation? Whether I can get an inventory alarm that your inventory is at risk, so I'm not incurring that much cost. Then supply chain also has something around financing, trade financing, supply chain financing. Can we negotiate to the vendor, okay, to give me a better payment terms, right? So there are multiple use cases around supply chain. You have interest in supply chain?
Ma'am, this is a field which we haven't explored till now. We haven't heard much about it.
Okay. I think supply chain, all FMCG companies and all manufacturing, I mean, supply chain is something which is picking up very, very fast.
Thank you so much.
Next, anyone would like to ask? Shilpi Gupta. Okay, okay. So
Hello, ma'am.
okay, yeah.
I would like to, first of all, thank you for such a nice lecture. Secondly, I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that we should have Excel in one software rather than all of them. We are taught almost all the softwares over here, like R and Python, SAS. So, what do you think would be best to learn, and what industry would demand
Python?
us to
Python.
Python?
Yes. So if
What?
you know Python, nothing, because now industry is moving from Python to Spark, right? So PySpark. If you know Python, you can quickly take up PySpark as well. So if you can already know PySpark, well and good. If not, then Python will help you take that transition very easily.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I would be able to take only one or two questions more. I'm so sorry. I had a hard stop at 3, but I'm extending it for 5 because we started 5 minutes late. So, one or two question more, please.
Yes, Rutik.
Uh, Ma'am, as a statistician and looking ahead to build a strong career in data science, what are the areas where we should work stronger as we lack the core technical skills like software engineers? Like how these things we should implement in our projects?
Um, I don't think I understand the question.
L- uh,
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. Like we have ample of theoretical knowledge,
Hmm.
but in order to implement it in projects, so what path should we select, and what are the areas where we need to work upon? Like you mentioned, domain knowledge is important. So what are other areas where we need to work hard?
Okay, see, I also talked about taking part in the competitions. So, if you not only try to take part in, not only just study, but also take part in Kaggle hackathons, then you would get a lot of practice. And with practice, you are anyways going for internship. You would also get that live understanding on how to work on the live data, live as an industry data. So that are the few things that you need to do, but practice is the only thing. So technical skills is something that you need to really have, because that's the kind of course you're doing, right? It is not an MBA that where you are just business understanding, but it's a purely technical course. So that is something that you need to be strong at.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so the last question for today, Sampada.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So I would like to ask, like, if you wish to make a growth in supply chain industry, then now we today are pursuing MSc in Applied Statistics and Analytics. So would you recommend us doing MBA in operations to pursue career in supply chain?
Why would you do an MBA in operation to make a career in supply chain? No, I mean, what career are you looking at in supply chain? Analytics.
Management, supply chain management.
Supply chain management. Okay. See, if you do MBA, frankly, there is no guarantee that you get into supply chain only, right? If you do MBA in operation, you may probably get into a manufacturing company, but not in supply chain, right? At the operation end. So, doing MBA is a good choice, but doing MBA to get into supply chain, I would not suggest that. If your path is so focused, then you do. Otherwise, you do something on a supply chain only. Like if you're planning to do MBA from abroad, there you will find specific courses on supply chain, MBA in supply chain management. So that you can still do, but doing it from India and thinking that you may not, right? Doing MBA is a good choice, but don't be too focused if you are thinking of MBA.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all our questions and queries. So now I would like to ask Sampada to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you guys, and just a moment. You have my email ID, Sakshi. Please send it
Yes,
to
ma'am.
all. If they have any more question, they can just reach out to my mail.
Sure.
So I, on behalf of SDSOS NMIMS and students of MSc Statistics and MSc Applied Statistics, would like to extend a very hearty thanks to our guest lecturer for the day, Ms. Richa Agarwal, for enlightening us with her substantial knowledge. Her talk on career in analytics has been extremely engaging and intriguing for all of us, and I'm sure everyone will agree to it. So she has definitely sparked an enthusiasm for many of the students here when she talked about something very interesting as digital transformation, then how important it is to get the domain knowledge, and of course the Six Sigma belt certification. That was something which I'm sure some of us would really take it up in their career, and also other aspects in which how to improve ourselves and what are the other other domains in which we can work and the type of work which happens. So it was really insightful. Um, and so thank you very much, ma'am,
Thank you.
for sharing it with us.
It was
And
pleasure. It was pleasure.
I would also like to extend my gratitude towards our Yashashri ma'am and all our esteemed faculty members for being the strong pillar of support for the event that happened today. Now I would request Yashashri ma'am to say something about today's event. Over to you, ma'am.
Honestly speaking, thank you so much, Sampada. But, ma'am, I would really thank you all. Like, actually speaking, you have done my work little bit easier. Talking about what profiles students would be like have there as a career. Honestly speaking, there are certain at some point of time. Even I have got certain more clarity about the roles and other things what industry look forward to. That's
Thank you.
I would say that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a detailed and a nice, wonderful lecture, ma'am.
Thank you.
So much.
Thanks a lot. It was pleasure talking to everyone. And I hope it was really, really meaningful and insightful for you.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay, then have a good day. I have to rush now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye. Bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.